Mr. Amit Nagpal, in conversation with Mr. John Bagul. And this session is about mental health and leadership and mentoring, a subject for today. This is something we are all grappling with all the time, especially after COVID. Mental health, leadership in our young people, and leadership in every sphere, and also, of course, mentoring of young people, mentoring of those who need to be leaders. So the panel is now entering. Welcome to the panel, Mr. Akash Khurana, Mr. Amit Nagpal, Mr. John Bagul, and Dr. Samir Parikh. And I'll hand over to Nayantara for the next bit.
So our next session is called Theatre of the Mind. What plays on our minds as we go about our increasingly alienated lives? And how do we ace the mental health game? Join us as we explore such questions in our next session with Dr. Samir Parikh, Akash Khurana, and Amit Nagpal, who shall be in conversation with John A. Bagul. Dr. Samir Parikh is an eminent psychiatrist and the director of the Department of Mental Health and Behavioral Sciences of Fortis Healthcare. He has also co-authored Alone in the Crowd, Overcoming Loneliness of Urban Living, which explores the spaces from which urban loneliness arises. Akash Khurana has segued between theatre, film, television, academia, and corporate life for over 4 decades. An engineer with an MBA, MPhil, and PhD, he is also an award-winning screenwriter, actor, and filmmaker, and has written the book Mentormorphosis: Stories for Mentoring the Leader in You. Amit Nagpal is a leadership facilitator, coach, and published author whose book, The Elephant at the Dinner Table, explores the nuances of modern leadership through the author's own experiences and real-life anecdotes. John A. Bagul, our moderator for this session, holds a key position in the academic community and has more than 3 decades of experience in the field of education. The De Rosio awardee is the founder principal of South City International School.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I won't waste much time because time is precious, time is ticking. I'm sure the mics are coming to you all. Dear audience, be prepared to go on an exciting journey. I am telling you, warning you, this panel is going to shake all your convictions and it's going to be very, very interesting. Let me start off with a quote by Steve Allen. Steve Allen, for those who don't know, has been, the late Steve Allen died in 2020, has been an author, has been a well-known American television actor. He was the first host of The Tonight Show, and he quoted, he said, I quote, that if radio is the theater of the mind, then television is the theater of the mindless. Dr. Akash Khurana, you have been a screen and script writer of many films. You've shared the stage with many eminent people. You know, and we all understand, music and sound play a very important role to depict our emotions. How would you connect the statement by Steve Allen of theatre of the mind and theatre of the mindless, along with the current social situation, the social media, and how we've all become zombies into our viewing of Instagram reels, etc. Over to you, Dr. Khurana.
Anyway, I don't want to start with the mindless. I want to talk about the theater of the mind first. And unlike Steve Allen, for me, theater was the theater of the mind. And I like to go back into my formative years, since you're talking about the state, the advent of society the way it is. I would like to go back to school, as it were, and John, that's where your expertise lies. A lot of people ask me this question, that how am I an actor despite being qualified for other professions? And herein lies the interesting part, that it's not really about what you're qualified for, but what you have learned for. I started with my first stage performance in school in the 3rd standard. It was the play called The Real Princess. I played the princess. And then a few years later, after attending Kathak classes, I played a dancing fisherwoman. But cross-dressing came naturally to me. And theatre has always been something through which I've been able to express myself. In 2017, to commemorate 50 years of decriminalization of homosexuality in the UK, a play directed by me, Vijay Tendulkar's A Friend's Story, was invited to be performed at the Shakespeare's Globe Theatre in London. Now, it's a hobby. It began as a hobby, but it evolved into something more, which provided a platform for me for self-expression. And I would like to just posit a little point here. How is it that there are some students who are more equal than others when it comes to extracurricular activities, like public speaking, theatre, sports? And I think apart from inborn talent, it has to do to a great degree, as in my case, with the atmosphere of facilitation and encouragement provided by parents and teachers in the formative years. So in my book on mentoring, I have called this category of mentors as bedrock mentors. So a lot of what a person or an adult grows up to be has to do in great measure with the seeds laid down by your bedrock mentors. And I think you can trigger this, take it off somewhere else. And this was just about how theatre, for me, was the theatre of the mind.
Hello, testing. Thank you. Thank you so much for that interesting insight into theatre of the mind and theatre of the mindless. Now, let us go on to Amit Nagpal. Amit Nagpal, you have written a book that is The Elephant at the Dinner Table, a journey into experiential leadership. Now, based on this, as we are all interested in how do we groom our children from a young age, which Dr. Khurana had touched upon, I would like to ask you, children, when we observe them, and this has been touched upon by Dr. Khurana, that children are growing up with a fear from parents that they are not being good enough. There's anxiety of the future. There's a lot of unfulfilled potential. Children are asked to fulfill their parents' dreams. And children undergo a lot of stress. Now, we want our children to be young leaders. So based on your experience, right from your mentoring days, from your early organizations, to the book that you have written, how do we train our children, or
not only children, how do we train young people, young leaders to become learners for life? Because that is what, as we just heard from Dr. Khurana, it's not about what you're trained for, it's what you're passionate about. So we need to train our young leaders to be leaders for life. Your views on this?
Thank you. That's a very powerful question that you've raised to me. And building on what we heard Dr. Akash talking about, see, I'm a product of experiential learning myself, and that's the reason I decided to write and chronicle my learning journeys. When we talk about parents, when we talk about the formative years, I feel very blessed and very privileged to be associated with a mentor without even knowing that she was mentoring me in the form of Mrs. Shonali Chandra, who was my next door neighbor in Agra. That's where I was born and brought up. She became my Alexa, my Siri, my Google, Quest in the 80s. And she used to respond to my questions, to my queries. Of course, I was very curious. And I had access to her library, and she used to subscribe to business magazines. She used to subscribe to even National Geographic in those days, in the early 80s, Reader's Digest. And I was allowed to pick up those books and magazines because she knew that I'm going to take good care of them. That's how I got the access to learning. Two, she also taught me English in a very different manner, unlike the school, which focused a lot on Wren and Martin kind of education, right? And she would take me and her son, Jayant, to watch English movies. And in those days, we didn't have movies with subtitles. So she would read about those movies. She would ask us during intermission, what did we learn from the movie and what are the key messages? And she would correct our communication, our English, immediately, instantly. No, Amit, it's not Warner Bros, it's Warner Brothers. No, Amit, it's not ammunition. It's not ammunition, it's ammunition. So that is one big thing that happened to my life, and I'm so indebted towards mentors like her. Then Stanley Dharam Sevak, Mr. Dharam Sevak became my economics teacher, and he introduced economics in a very unique manner, through storytelling, through sharing anecdotes. So the reason I'm sharing these examples with you is, as parents, we should allow our children, or as leaders, we should allow the younger leaders access to learning from others and not be restricted to learning only from what the college teaches you or what the school teaches you. Be exploratory in nature, look at things with curiosity and be experimental. I have experimented a lot. I think over the last 34 years, I think I've worked for 9 different organizations. And being a part of BPO industry, I've served almost 18 to 19 different clients across the globe. So you win some, you lose some. If you're experimental, if you're curious enough, if you reach out for help, and lastly, I would say that you don't have to be just a parent to, or just a leader to your team members. You also have to coach them by not directing them, but by asking very powerful questions. And that's what makes a difference.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that, Mr. Amit Nagpal. So what we've gathered is, dear parents, we have to teach our children to take risk. When you say be experimental, we have to learn to take risk, calculated risk, move on, and have mentors. I think all of us need mentors. At every stage in our life, we need mentoring.
Every stage, I would say Mr. Narayan Murthy, the founder of Infosys, has a mentor even today. I mean,
Exactly.
Every time he flies into Pune, he makes sure that he meets his mentor and
So,
seeks blessings.
mentoring is an important part of a human life in the stages that you grow and develop. Dr. Parikh, coming to you, there are lots of questions that we can ask you based on your immense experience in this field with respect to people with mental illness. But first, a very basic question. We all know that mental issues have increased after the pandemic. As a school principal, I would say it's our duty to make parents aware, and we are all working towards a brighter future. But is there sufficient mental awareness in society, one? And second, are schools doing enough to increase mental awareness and mental issues in parents and children? Over to you, sir.
So, I think it's very important to understand that there is no future which does not have strong pillars of mental health. Let's be very clear about it. No future for individuals who will be adults, leaders of the future. There is no future for a society as well, because your basic quality of life, your feel-good factor, the positivity of living, all of that comes down to your mental health. Is there more awareness than there was, let's say, 25 years back when I first walked into my college in Civil Hospital, Ahmedabad? Of course. But is there a long way to go? Oh, yes. And I think that's what we need to understand. Even today, 75% of people globally do not seek help because of the stigma, the discrimination. So yes, we need to do a lot. Schools, for example, have been having more and more counselors joining them. Ask yourself a question. If you add all the number of counselors in the country and you add all the number of schools across the spectrum from public to private, which number is more? If the number of schools is more, then this whole idea of one counselor per school in any case doesn't make sense. So what is the alternative? The alternative for schools is a mental health curriculum. How do you do it? By utilizing the strongest pillar that we have in our society, which is the teaching community. Now, both of them talked about mentors. What's a mentor? A teacher. Most of us, our lives have been shaped by our school teacher. If you ask me what would be my career differentiator, would be my Hindi teacher, late Mr. Bhaskar. Because he made me take so many public conversations and speeches and debates that today I can speak. Or my bio teacher, Mr. Miranda, not for teaching me bio that I became a doctor, for reminding me during my board exam, before my entrance exam, are you playing or not? Are you listening to the music or not? Have you not put your guitar down? Are you going out to the field or not? So all of that. So I think mental health curriculum in school. When you asked Akash about social media, I think digital media literacy to be integrated in schools. You move forward, and that's where I think we need to do a lot more work. If you were to draw lines, and I think we've done more work in school mental health as a society and less work in workplace mental health. And we need to have both these pillars on track. So the way we have mental health curriculum, the way your school for that matter, we work closely with your school, what you keep doing, more schools need to do that. Parents and teachers is where we invest so that children can grow better, empower them with skills. But the same needs to also happen in workplaces. I think workplace mental health is not getting the kind of attention that it needs to, given the fact that in 2019 the data suggests that 15%, 10 to 15% of the workplace population is in need of some mental health intervention.
Thank you, Dr. Parikh. It's quite disturbing to know from Dr. Parikh, who's an expert on mental health, that 75% of mental health disorders are not being reported or no medical treatment is being done because of the fear and stigma in society. It's easier for a person to say that I have cancer rather than say I am suffering from depression. I think that is the state of society today, but we'll come to that later, Dr. Parikh. Coming to Dr. Akash Khurana, I would refer to you as a doctor because you have a doctorate in social sciences from TIS. You're known as an actor more rather than Dr. Khurana. Dr. Khurana, how can persons with disability, commonly called PWD, be, and if they're passionate about theatre, how can they be an inspiration to others, and which areas can they look for?
So there's no substitute for passion. And everybody is equal. So let's start with that premise. If there is passion, and I'm sure, obviously given the context, there are opportunities. It's a level playing field and everyone has a chance to make good on their dreams. Now, what is relevant to, say, people who are not obviously challenged? To my mind, in some way or the other, everyone is challenged. So no one looks at it that way. What is discernible becomes a stigma in society. But given the state, and especially post-pandemic, most people are going to be challenged. So I think this concept of how abled you are, how differently abled you are, how challenged you are, should go out of the window. I, for one, even if I am passionate, cannot become a 100-meter sprinter. I'm meant for other things. In that sense, I'm physically challenged. I cannot run a 100-meter race. On the other hand, I can play snookers, write a book, and so forth. So I'm saying it really comes back from society, that it's a mindset that has to go first. And that environment can actually become conducive for those who are challenged to make good on their dreams. And I would say even for so-called normal people, passion is not enough. I have what is known as a Jugalbandi theory. So obviously the best vocation is one where you are passionate about what you do. But more importantly, how good are you at doing what you are passionate about? Because then there's a risk of dreams dying. So there's a saying by Walt Disney, if you can dream it, you can do it. I have a caveat to that. If you can dream it, you can do it, but only if you're very good at doing it.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Khurana. That was very interesting. Your Jugalbandi is very interesting. The new thought process. Taking forward from there to Mr. Amit Nagpal. We've heard of the equation pursuit, curiosity, action, pursuitica. How do you think we can implement this? Because in school we all talk about curiosity, critical thinking, the core skills. But just now, coming from what Dr. Khurana has said, the pursuit, the curiosity, and the action. How can we implement this in young learners and the future leaders of tomorrow?
Yeah, so that's the name of the firm that I conceived, Pursuitica. And again, I'll share a life incident, a story. This is about my younger years when I started my career as a sales rep, as a medical rep for Glaxo, GSK, now we call it GSK, one of the world's largest pharmaceutical company. There was this doctor, there's this doctor by the name Dr. Naren Sehgal, who's a surgeon, a very successful surgeon in Delhi. I was selling very complex antibiotics, very, very expensive antibiotics, and he used to challenge me and say, Amit, why should I be buying these medicines? And he would challenge me with a lot of questions. And this is the time when we did not have any Google or any other research tools with us. So I would go back to my Glaxo office in Delhi, seek some answers from doctors there. If I would not get answers from them, I would reach out to our Mumbai office, which is the headquarters in India. And if I would not get answers from there, I would reach out to the London office and seek fax messages from them. And not being satisfied with that either, I would reach out to my my medical community, my friends who eventually became doctors. And I would go back to Dr. Naren Sehgal with the facts and with highlighted portions and saying, here are the answers. You gave me these challenges, here are the answers. This medicine of mine, this drug of mine has got less side effects than the competitor. He started getting quite interested in my conversation and said, Amit, you are meant to do something bigger. Why don't you study further? Why don't you do more? So he kept on challenging me to do more. And I owe it to him and owe it to several other leaders who continue to not only feed my curiosity, but also encourage me to take action. And I continue to take action. And from Glaxo, I moved to NIS, from NIS to GE Capital, and I moved from sales to sales training, and from there to operations, and then I joined Wipro, and then finally Infosys, and I did variety of work, purely by learning new skills, by being open to ideas of augmenting myself by learning new skills. And of course, when you are also surrounded by leaders who value you, also are supportive when you fail. They also not support you, but also celebrate some of your failure points, because that's how you learn things not to do. So in short, to summarize this part of my thought process is that if you pursue with the right intention, you equip yourself with the right kind of resources and continue to chisel the marble. Never stop chiseling the marble. So there are a lot of people who are good ideators. They come up with excellent ideas, but if they don't implement those ideas, the ideas fade away. So you need to constantly search, reach out to people, get ideas, implement those ideas, continue to take action. And that is what has served me very well. So if a medical rep could become a learning head of Infosys BPM, so can you, by simply following this path.
So what Mr. Amit Nagpal basically says, you have to pursue your dreams of excellence, but you have to also take action. And it just resonates what Dr. Khurana had said. Now coming to you, Dr. Parikh, the school that I am heading is an inclusive school. We have children with special needs. We are also one of the few schools in the country maybe who have an LGBTQ plus club run by students, for students, to make awareness. Now, we have multiple boards. I have the international board, I have the CISC, ICSC, ISC. Now CBSC, ISC, all these boards give a lot of relaxations for children with certain learning disabilities. And learning disabilities were made more apparent mostly by Tare Zameen Par. I'll come to that later. But Dr. Parikh, children who pass with these recommendations, extra time, etc., which are given by the boards, sadly we don't see these continuing into universities and institutions of higher learning. There's a gap because these same children who are wonderful, intelligent, they can do a lot, they just need that extra time for their question papers, etc. This does not happen in universities. How can we reduce that gap? What is required in spite of the NEP, etc.? This learning gap exists.
Yes, it's an interesting one. I don't think there would be an answer which will be an absolute solution. But before I come to that, since you were talking about disability, I just want to put one fact here. 1 in 6 years lived in disability are because of mental health concerns worldwide. When we talk about learning disability, to me, there are two aspects to the whole Tare Zameen Par. First one, unfortunate that we need a film to tell us about something that was existing for such a long time, is one way to look at it, which means raise the bar of your awareness. Second, films have the power to influence, is a reality we need to accept rather than shying away from it. And that's why portrayal of mental health in media has to be done with sensitivity, responsibility in an undiluted manner. That also needs to be understood. Coming to what you were saying, the right approach would be to look at various components of disability, which I think gradually we will start understanding. Today we've understood, for example, for let's say dyslexia, the one that you are talking about, that you may give a written scribe, or you may give support of an extra time, or so on and so forth. But we'll also need to understand there are other forms of disabilities also happening. Let's say somebody goes through a few months of depression, and in that the individual may not have been able to attend school. So how about letting go of that requirement attendance if this individual has been able to work? So on and so forth. And the same needs to continue in a very tailor-made way. Some of these generic things are applicable in schools. Once we grow up, we may do some more in colleges, but then each of these individuals will take different paths. So based on what path they have taken, what can be possibly done or not done, that's an area where we all need to work upon. Wouldn't be a definitive answer for that.
Thank you, Dr. Parikh. As you rightly said, we are school heads, we are teachers out here, we are dealing with children who have short-term depression, death in the family, exams coming up. The fear of failure and rejection is the biggest fear in the minds of these children. But I'm going to take up a point that you raised, is the social media or Bollywood. Bollywood has done a lot of, in a way, good job. You have My Name is Khan, if you start with Asperger's syndrome. You have Barfi, which was an autistic person and a speech hearing impaired. You have Heroine, a bipolar disorder movie. Chichore, Sushant Singh Rajput, ironically dealing with suicide. Dear Zindagi, which so many of us loved. So